Hello everyone, Virtuosity here, bringing you another PC COD 4 gameplay, this time on Countdown with the M48-3. My perks are Bandolier, Stopping Power, and Iron Lungs. And today I'd like to talk about the differences between the PC and Xbox 360 platforms. I've played both. I've played PC for almost 10 years now. I'm an avid PC enthusiast. I played the console or Xbox 360 version of World at War for around 6 months. I also played COD 4 for around a month. I've played COD 4 on the PC now for 10 months or so, and today I want to highlight some of the differences between the two and kind of contrast them for you. One of the first things I'd like to talk about is connectivity. Connectivity is a huge part of any gamer, or any gamer's life, when it comes to multiplayer video games. For the Xbox 360, as you all know, probably, it has the host system where it's based off someone's home network, and based off that person providing a stable connection to a handful of people. Whereas with the PC, there's what's called a dedicated server, which is a computer sitting in a warehouse somewhere with a dedicated connection, and it leads to a lot better hit registration than sometimes what the host connection is capable of on the Xbox 360. It leads to a lot more consistent hit registration and a lot less lag. Um, it also enables the games to have a lot more players because the dedicated computer can provide a stable connection to quite a few people. So a lot of times you'll find, say, 25 versus 25 games on the PC, and it can be quite a bit of fun. This, of course, leads to a couple different things. One major effect it has is that camping becomes a really effective tactic on larger games, obviously, simply because there's someone around every corner waiting to shoot you down. On the Xbox 360, I feel like you can be a lot more aggressive as long as you're good on the stick, and say you have a good pair of headphones. You can run something like Ninja or Dead Silence, and you just soundhorse shit out of people. Just run around all over the map getting kills left and right. On PC, you can also do that, as long as the game is smaller. It's very hard to do it in larger games. You'll see here I'm kind of pretty much hanging back. I mean, every time my team starts to die and I push up, I have this kind of habit where I push up a little bit more than I should with a sniper rifle, because I usually use an AK or an M16, so I'm used to being a mid-range assault rifle kind of guy. Sometimes I push up, but you'll notice that I typically run the hell away and try to get out of there. One of the big things with having a game of this size is it leads to a couple different things other than just the prevalence of camping, at least for good players. One thing that changes in the game is that airstrikes actually become a lot more effective than a chopper does, simply because there's so many people spread throughout the map, and if it's an open map like Countdown, where there's barely any cover besides the hangars on either side of the map, it becomes very difficult to hide from a well-placed airstrike. And one thing you can actually do, one thing I've done in the past quite a bit, is you can use your airstrike, or say, rather, get an airstrike, and nade yourself. Just kill yourself off, spawn again, call in your airstrike, and just call it in on where you think 4 to 5 people might be. And there you go, you get another airstrike, nade yourself again, and you can rinse and repeat. It's not too effective of a tactic. I've actually got quite a few bad games trying to abuse it, just to see how broken it really is. Not because I'm a cheap bastard, just because I want to see if it really is just a broken aspect of the game or not, so I can let someone know and hopefully they'll fix it. But it really isn't. You often get punished for it, but it can be done, just to point it out. I've actually gotten a plus 210 before on Bog, which I was pretty ecstatic about. Another thing I want to talk about is the difference in hardware. There's a huge difference in how hardware affects gameplay on the PC as compared to the Xbox, because the Xbox, everybody has the same hardware. Maybe your internet connection isn't the same, maybe you're not host, but everybody's running the same graphics card, the same processor, the same memory, all that stuff. What that leads to isn't really an even playing field for everyone, which is actually pretty good for competitive play, because no one really has an advantage. One thing I'd like to point out for the PC is that if you know what you're doing and you have a really good computer, you can set yourself up so that you do actually gain quite a bit of an advantage from tweaking your graphics options and how your connection actually works and your packet flow and stuff. With the PC, okay, well, actually, to start off with the Xbox runs at 60 frames per second, and it is synced. That is, the frame rate is completely static, it never changes. And actually, well, it doesn't always stay at that when there's really heavy load. I've actually seen the Xbox frame rate drop quite a bit in the past, but moving on, that's actually another reason some of the games are so small on the Xbox, is because the Xbox actually can't handle like a 25 versus 25 at the graphics settings it's set to, which are relatively high. With the PC, if you know what you're doing, you have a customizable frame rate. You can set it to wherever you want to, and people eventually discovered that there are certain multiples of frames that allow you to actually jump a little farther and move a little bit faster. Uh, like I said before, the Xbox runs at around 60 frames per second. The highest I've actually seen COD 4 run at on maximum settings is at 333 frames per second. And you get an advantage simply because your computer is rendering the game more quickly than, say, an opponent might be who's running at 60. And it's updating the server more often with where you are, and it's more accurate. So where you are in the server, or where the server detects you are at in comparison with where your computer tells you are more consistent, which leads to just generally more consistent play. I myself run at really, really low graphics compared to what you're seeing on screen, simply so that I can crank my frame rate as much as possible. This is a pretty common thing to do in most PC games, especially ones that are based off of the Quake 3 engine. Another thing is that if you visualize for a second on the map, and say it's divided into a number of tiles, quite a few, every time you move, the game calculates how far you've moved. Well, if the game is rendering more frames per second, sometimes it'll render you a little farther in that step you take than someone who's running at 60, if you're running at 333 or so, or even 120. Another big difference I'd like to talk about is the role of how you mechanically play the game. That is what you physically do to interact with what you're seeing. As you can see here, while I'm sniping, a number of times I'll actually use what's called a twitch shot. That is, I line my hand up directly on a target and pull the trigger after scoping in. It's not always like a quick scope, but I will scope in and then drag to where I want to go, or rather twitch to where I want to go. In Xbox 360, there's another technique which is called the drag shot, which is actually where you just slam your stick all the way to the side, make your screen accelerate as fast as possible, and then time your shot. You pull the trigger right when you know your crosshair is going to time whatever you're looking at. And for Xbox snipers, that's a pretty effective tactic. It's also a way to get on aim quickly when you're using even other guns. Sensitivity itself doesn't play too large of a role on the PC side. Typically, like, lower sensitivity players are going to be more accurate, just like the Xbox, but the thing is, how fast you actually move your screen is more dependent on how far you can move your arm and how much mouse pad you have, as opposed to an Xbox controller where you can just keep turning forever and ever and ever, but you can't actually move any faster than the maximum acceleration rate for your sensitivity. I myself run at a fairly low sensitivity, but I have a 12 by 24 mouse pad, so I can move a lot. I can move a lot of distance. And that can lead to, well, let me revise what I was going to say. That's just a difference in how people play. I know a lot of people will say it's easier to snipe on Xbox, but that's simply because they haven't developed the ability to do the twitch shot. As always, of course, though, hard scoping is the most effective tactic, in my opinion, at least, as long as you have situational awareness. But the game is about to wrap up almost here. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay. Go ahead and rate, leave a comment, subscribe if you want. I'm going to be posting these regularly. Let me know if you would like to post, or if you would like me to post a tutorial detailing some of these graphics tweaks if you're a PC player. Otherwise, this is Virtuosity, signing out.
On Twitter. There you'll find latest updates from our premier directors and the Machinima Respawn team.